Okay. Muy bien. Vamos a grabar. We are grabar. Grabar means to record. Grabar. It sounds like grab. Grabar. Grabar es to record. Vamos a grabar. Excelente. Muy buenos días y feliz martes. Feliz martes. Happy Tuesday. Feliz martes. Oh, es el 1 de febrero. It's the 1st of February. Hoy es. Today is. Hoy es el 1 de febrero. The first month of the year is the only one that gets an ordinal number, a first. They never say the 2nd of November. They'll say the 2 or the 2nd of February, the 2nd of December. Yeah, it'll always be just the 2 of December. But the first usually gets the moniker of el primero instead of el uno. El primero de febrero. El primero de febrero. It rhymes. Rima. Ok. Y vamos a empezar con muchas cosas. Okay. Wow. We've got a lot of things and it's going to feel like things are, wow, we're doing many different things because we are. Because things start to kind of just merge together and get all intertwined, and that's the way language works. We're going to start. I'll show you the share screen on our pronunciation page, the section you should have pulled up. B, I, B, I, R. We're going to tackle that troublesome R and the strong trill and the softer trill. And we'll talk a little bit about X and Cetta, but they are not too tough. And oh yes, and because I had to reset my computer, now I got weird things going on with that. Okay, so anyway, you may want to have that handy, whether you pull it up as a piece of paper or a second screen. A mí no importa, does not matter to me, but we'll have that handy. We're going to cover the pronunciación. We're going to cover a lot of, we're going to also, I'll pull this up as well. We're also going to take a look at the answers to this, which was a review, or you're doing a second practice on plurals and all the things that happen with plurals. So we'll go over the answers of these plurals of nouns, plurals of things, people, places, and things. And then we're going to start in with some practice on the verb ser, practice with numbers. So it's going to be a combination of a lot of different things. Vale, sí. Okay. And I don't think I'm going to send you into breakout rooms for the pronunciation today, simply because these are not really make it or break it. The R, it is kind of nice to learn to trill, but that may take a few of you a while. So, okay, vamos a empezar con B y B. So I'll pull that up once again. And oh my goodness. So I do not want thumbnail video. And why will it not put me on full screen? Okay. So perdón, excuse me. I cannot see my chat box or my big screen. This is undoubtedly a meeting problem born of the issues with my computer problems. I do not know why that is happening. Okay, vamos a practicar. Just know if you're sending me a chat in the chat box, for some reason it's doing a thumbnail on the Zoom for me and I cannot see it. But, pero, B y B, vamos a practicar B y B. They are softer. They are softer than they are in English. They are not explosive. So we talked a little bit about last week that our B in English is explosive. And if you put your palm in front of your hand in front of your face, you can feel a puff of air. And generally that does not happen with most of these B sounds. Now, the B is a touch stronger when it comes as the first letter of a word. It's stronger when it pairs up with a consonant after it. But when it winds up being a B between two vowels, it will be much, much softer. So in other words, your lips barely touch when a B happens to be in a word between two vowels. But the be, these two letters sound exactly the same. And the words for the letter are be, be. Wow, that doesn't help us. So usually they call it, because they sound the same, be grande, big B, y be chica. Sometimes they call it be burro, because everybody knows burro, is the animal, and be vaca for cow, because VACA, vaca means cow. So these two letters, B and B, in little kid third grade spelling tests in their native language, these are the words they get wrong that they have to work on harder. But be will sound exactly alike, and they will not sound like the V really with our teeth on our lower lip. So they're going to be a little bit softer. So we're going to practice these together. If you have a hard time with, getting rid of the it's not a make it or break it, but you just sound a little more foreign, let's put it that way. But let's look at the left-hand side of the be. Y repitan, por favor. So repeat with me. Blanco. Blanco. Okay. Bravo.
Bravo.
Billete. Ticket. Here's our name of the letter of the alphabet. Burro. Here's one of the many words for beautiful, because just as we have gorgeous and beautiful and stunning and lovely, they have many words that mean those same things of beautiful. Bello. If any of you have ever traveled to Italy, they have a similar word, but they pronounce the L as an L. We have bello. Then we have the word for inexpensive, cheap, not as in badly made cheap, but cheap as in does not cost a lot. Barato. So these B's, because they lead off, are a little bit stronger, but they're still not the puff of air, okay? Blanco, bravo, billete, burro, bello, barato. Okay? But this V here, these V words will sound exactly like the B words, okay? So it'll be vista. Vista. It'll be the word for green, verde. It'll be the word that almost all of us in the Southwest know because we hear it out and about, vamos. Vamos means we are going, or hey, let's go. Vamos. Okay. A word that means somebody is telling you, hey, come over here. Venga. That's a command. Venga. Come. Yeah. And here I have two words, and you're going to see the difference. Ver. It's a verb. It means to see. And but you are most likely to hear it as a two-word phrase, which is this thing I've highlighted in blue. A ver. And it'll go much softer because now it's between the A and that letra E. A ver. A ver is somebody says when they pause and think, a ver. Somebody asks them, where do I find this place? And they have to think. So they go, a ver. Or they say, which one of these papers do I need? A ver. They're pausing and thinking about it. You'll hear people saying this as a filler phrase. A ver. Let's see. A ver. Okay, so, but much softer there. A ver. My lips barely touch, but ver when it's just by itself. Okay. And the word for vacation, which is always plural in Spanish. It just is. Vacaciones.
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 Vacaciones means vacation, even though we have it as singular, they use it as.
Vacaciones.
Okay. Now you're going to hear a bunch of the be sounds, but they'll be between vowels. They'll be so soft, my lips just barely touch. Okay. And I'm going to go left to right because you're going to see we have some, well, no, we have some words. I don't have every word that is the same, but tubo, tubo, tube. And this is also pronounced the same way, tubo. But tuvo is a verb. It's a past tense verb. He got something, like he got a dog, he got a bill, he got news. Tuvo. Here's the name for the country. Cuba. Cuba. Our lips barely touch. Cuba. Here's the word for a key. So your hotel key will be this. Llave. Here, this won't be a really strong B because it's between the A and the U. Fabuloso. Here's a word you hear and it means something went really, really bad. Grave. Serious grave, not the grave you dig for a dead body, but grave, grave, serious, like bad shape. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, the word for drink. I'll get a harder sort of B, but then a softer one in the second B. Bebida. A drink. And we'll have a soft V in this month of the year, but then a hard B at the end. Noviembre. And we hear the bre harder because it's a BR combination, but this part is very soft. Noviembre. Okay, vale, magnifico. I hope you guys watched the video on how to trill an R. That whole thing of making an F sound, and when we make an F sound, we start to shoot air through our lips. And I will at some point kind of modify this to reflect that, because words in Spanish, actually, I'm going to take this off of share for a moment so I can put this in the chat box. We're going to employ that little technique that he talked about in that video. And use some words that start with an F. So we get an F, and that gives us the air to do that r sound. A single R does not get a strong trill. It gets like a single flap of the tongue trill, like this. Frente. Like, like this word, frío. So when you hear the single R, or you see it spelled, it's not frente, it's frente, frío. Okay. Okay. Frente, frío. It's like that. Es así. Okay. It's like that. I'm going to see if I can keep my Zoom screen better by doing my share screen here. Perdón, excuse me, because this will be a little experiment. I'm trying to keep my whole box here. Okay. Ooh, no, it's still not doing it. Okay, well, this is one of my computer mysteries that. Okay, we're going to look at our R. R when it is in the middle anywhere, we'll get the little flap. Like us saying the word ladder, cutter, butter, better. Yeah, that single flap. So we're going to try these together. And if you don't roll an R perfectly, do know it's not the end of the world. People will understand you, but it's very good if they hear a difference between a strong trill that you're kind of trying or not, because there are a few, not a lot, but a few words that really are exactly the same. They'll have a double R. Everything else is spelled the same, but it has a double R or a single R. That doesn't happen a lot, but once in a while. And with little words like that, sometimes it can make a difference. So let's take a look at this not so strong trill. Caro.
Caro.
Caro. Caro means costs a lot, expensive. Caro. Okay. Here's the word that means but, well, I like you, but I can't do that for you. Pero.
Pero.
And we don't want to make it perro, just pero. Pero. Okay. We've got the word for clear, or people use it to say, oh, of course, claro. Claro. Here's a word that means raw. It's also slang for hungover. Crudo. Crudo. And that D will sound like a TH. Crudo. Crudo. And here's a word that is a cognate. It sounds like a word you already know in English, and it means what you think it means. Grupo. So the single flap is not too bad. That strong trill for some people is very intimidating. So we're going to take a look at the strong trill. The R, which used to be considered a separate letter, by the way, and that only changed in the last 20 years. It used to be a separate letter. The R gets a strong trill, R, so it'll do a number of flaps. You have your tongue flapping behind these teeth. And oddly enough, if R, the single L, single R, if the single R is the first letter of the word, you'll notice that didn't happen anywhere in this left-hand column. But on the right-hand column, we've got some words that are single R's, but they lead off the word. When those two situations happen, we get the strong trill. Okay. So we had here on the left, a la izquierda, caro, but here we've got carro. Carro. I hear a lot of good trills. Okay, carro. Carro is car in most of Latin America and Mexico. Some people use the word coche for car. Coche is used primarily in Spain, in some places in Colombia, even some places in Mexico. I hear people using coche from time to time, but carro is generally a very Latin American word for car. Then we've got the word for dog, not perro, but perro. Perro, dog. Yeah. Then we've got a yummy thing. We often see this if you go to outdoor events and they have street vendors. You'll see these sold in the Southwest. Yeah, churros. It's that little. Sometimes it's done in a squiggly form. Sometimes a long stick. Yeah, all the cinnamon and sugar on the outside. So, yeah, churro. We've got this word for a color, marron. They like that word in Venezuela. They like that word in Spain. They like that, Mexico, they like the word café for brown or color de café. But in Spain and parts of Colombia, Venezuela, they like the word marron. And a helpful word to know because it means drunk. Somebody who's had way too much to drink. Borracho. Which could be borracha if it were a lady who were, but, generally you hear it as borracho. I'm not making any generalizations here, but yeah, borracho. Okay, let's look at when the single R gets a strong trill, when it leads off a word. Rojo. Red. Yeah. Rio. River, yeah. Rico. Which can mean rich and can mean also delicious. Está muy rico would mean it is really yummy.
Muy rico.
Okay. And now we've got a strong trill to lead off and a single trill. And this is a common word. So even though it's a multiple syllable and kind of tough, we're going to tackle it because you hear this a lot because we use it a lot. Restaurante. Restaurante.
Restaurante.
Restaurante. Restaurante.
And we've got another strong trill followed by a little trill. Raro.
Raro.
Raro. Raro means can mean rare, can mean strange, can mean weird, depends on the context. Raro. Es raro. Wow, that's weird. That's odd. That's strange. Es raro. It's strange. It's odd. It's weird. Raro. Okay. Bien. Okay. X. We're going to take a look at a couple things, and I'm not going to play the video for this because we've got too many other things to do, but I am going to ask you to watch a video on X this week because X, if you're in Mexico, gets a lot of strange, subtle, different pronunciations that are so multiple that even a native Mexican will often say, I don't know how to pronounce that word. A native Mexican. But in other places that are not Mexico, there are more standard things. I'll explain why. Okay. This letter is called X. Oh, you know the beer, Dos X. Actually, in the video, she's going to talk about why the brand name is Dos X. She's going to talk about why it got that brand name. So do watch that video. If for nothing else, it's just great trivia. X, for your intents and purposes, there are two things you should focus on about the X, because she's going to tell you a lot more in the video. And the lot more that I'm not going to cover today is that in Mexico, there are multiple pronunciations because of native indigenous words, indigenous from Nuatu, from the indigenous tribes that lived there before the Spaniards came to Mexico. And a lot of those indigenous tribes, the sounds were spelled with an X when they translated the native indigenous language to Spanish. And those words from the indigenous languages get many different pronunciations, which are even hard to decipher for native speakers of Mexican Spanish. But in Spain, you won't hear those words. In, if you go to other countries where they have influence from many indigenous languages like Peru, like Ecuador. Yeah. You may hear some odd pronunciations for that X, but that's not going to affect the majority of the words you as a tourist need to know. Okay. So here we're going to cover the main things, but the video will cover some of this. We're going to look at what you're going to see most often is this combination of EX, which is really a thing that comes from Latin. And it's going to sound like what you think it should. Okay. X, right? So here are the ones that sound like what you think they should be. Experto. Expert. Yeah. Here's a common word you'll hear a lot. Exacto. Exacto. Yeah. Here's another word that's important because people will use it, and it means a person who's from abroad visiting or going abroad, and it's extranjero. Extranjero. You could just hear the word extra, something is extra. Yeah. Okay. So that'll be like what you think. But in some, and I'm not going to say all because all would not be true, in some geographic names, you'll see an X in the middle. And those, pronounce them like the J or like the G-E-G-I combination, the throaty H. So not Mexico, but Mexico. Mexico. And not Texas, but Texas.
Tejas.
Texas. So those are the two geographical places you need to know. In the video, she is going to give you a lot of other geographic places that are very long and look like, what the heck is that? And they will have different sounds. And I will tell you also, you will see, if you go to Spain and you go to the north of Spain, if you venture into Basque country, which is right on that borderline in northern Spain between, they use a lot of X in their native language, which is not Spanish, but, you know, Basco, Euskera, and the X does different things there. But you need to know mainly these kind of words, those X words, and a few geographic words. The video will show you some other things that will help. Some will be cities you've heard of, so it'll be good to know those few. Okay, Cetta. Let's look at Cetta. Cetta is pretty easy. It's like an English S, but it gets no buzz, like our Z for zebra and zip and zipper. There's no buzz to this Cetta. It'll just sound like a plain old S sound, okay?
Yeah.
So we'll get words like this, which means pencil, lápiz.
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 This, which is an animal, zorro. And the novel character got that name because he was crafty and wily and escaped the police a lot. Zorro. Luz, light, any kind of light, electric or natural. Luz. The word for a cross, cruz. Here's a really important word that has a Cetta in it, and you will hear it a lot as a tourist. It means left. It's a direction word. Izquierda. Izquierda. Yeah, what a long word. I'm going to split this into some syllables. Izquierda. 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 Which people will say a la izquierda, to the left. A la izquierda. You'll hear it all run together as a la izquierda. A la izquierda. Yeah. That's an important word. Es una palabra importante. And this word, which somebody means, wow, shame, humiliation,
Vergüenza.
vergüenza. Qué vergüenza. Wow, qué vergüenza. How shameful. Yeah. Okay. Vale. Bien. And I will send you the little X. There's a little guy who did the R. This is going to be the X that you're going to hear, and you're going to see, oh, Tasco, there's a place. Sometimes that X is going to sound like a sh, sometimes like a sh, sometimes like an S, sometimes like a sh, sh. There are going to be all kinds of different things, and just know that those happen, you know, usually for geographical areas. Okay. Bien. Vale. Okay. And that's most of the alphabet stuff that you need to know. So we're going to move on. Menos que, unless you got any question on any pronunciation stuff we did, which if you do, please speak out. No? Nada. Okay. Let's take a look at correcting this. Let's pull that up. Wow. And we had in this one thing. Oh, and what we're looking at this. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't put on the share screen. That kind of, oh, it's a problem. Wow. And now you got my screen, I think, in the middle. Yeah, I still got some computer issues. Here we go. Okay. This is the original that you got. And you're doing actually 3 different things here. Wow. you're taking this word mes and making it just
Mes.
into a plural,
Mhm.
meses, meaning you add s or es to make it plural.
Mhm.
And then you are using it with an indefinite article to make it some months, unos meses, and you're using it with a definite article to say the months,
The
los
months.
meses.
Los meses.
So we're going to look at the answer key for that. Can I move this bar? Ooh, I can. Vamos a ver. Aquí, here we go. So you can see what the answers were, or what the answers are. I'm going to try and make these a little bigger so they're easier to see. Okay, so we've got meses, unos meses, los meses. So we're looking at plural and gender and articles, right? How to say the, some. Año becomes años just by itself, but unos años, los años. Padre becomes padres,
Padres.
but unos padres,
Los padres.
los padres.
Los
Bien. Animal,
Animales.
Animales.
Unos
animales. Unos animales, unos animales,
animales.
los animales.
Los animales.
Okay. We've got hermano becomes hermanos.
Hermanos.
Unos hermanos, los hermanos. Some brothers, and that word hermanos can mean brothers, all guys, or brothers and sisters. For a lot of these nouns that are family oriented, like tío, like padre, like hermano, like primo, cousin. When we make it plural, padres means parents, mom and dad together. Hermanos usually means brothers and sisters, all of them together. Tíos means not only uncles, but uncles and aunts together. Primos means cousins, no matter which gender, all together. Okay. That all together doesn't happen with a feminine form. You're going to see that in this next word. Hija, hijas, unas hijas, yeah, and las hijas. Las hijas. Bien. And we're focusing on our last family word. Familia becomes familias.
Familia.
And unas familias.
Unas familias.
Las familias.
Familias.
Perfecto. Okay. Luz, light, ends in a Z. Oh, so to make it plural, it doesn't affect the sound. It just affects the spelling. So it really doesn't matter with pronunciation, but we change a Z to a C. Luces. Okay.
Luces.
Unas luces.
Unas luces.
Las luces.
Las luces.
The lights. Yeah. We got a word for persona. Persona is person. Personas.
Personas.
Unas personas.
Unas personas.
Las personas.
Las personas.
Bien. Here's a word that means what you think it means. Taxi becomes taxis.
Taxis.
And you can't really tell. Taxi ends in an E sound. Well, it's a masculine word. You just need to know. Okay. It's unos taxis
Unos
taxis.
and los taxis.
Los
taxis.
Bien. Okay. Vale.
Right.
¿Alguna pregunta? Any question on that?
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. Yeah. We just wanted to kind of do a follow-up on that so that you know what's happening. We are going to take a look at this thing of gender just a little more. See if you remember, gender means a word, no, that's too vague. A noun, a person, place, or thing, a noun is either masculine or feminine. And
Right.
sometimes, but not all the time, sadly, sometimes we have a little like last letter of the noun that gives us a clue to tell us this is masculine or this is feminine. Or we have a little ending, meaning a suffix that may tell us, this word is masculine or feminine. That won't happen all the time. But I'm going to give you some common everyday words. We looked at the first half of this last week, so we're just going to recap this to give you a little more practice. Aquí, yeah. We finished with, the last one we did was doctora, right? Doctora and doctora. So in many cases here, yeah, I'm underlining, that word. Yeah, sometimes we don't have a clue, sometimes we do. Doctor will be masculine or feminine, guys?
Masculine.
Masculine.
Masculine. To make this one feminine, we do need to tag on an a. That happens sometimes in Spanish. Doctora is the feminine form. Some nouns especially with a profession, sometimes we tag on an a, doctora. Okay. Estación. I've got a suffix.
Estación.
And that's a gimme.
Feminine.
Feminine. Estación can mean a station like estación de autobús, a bus station. Estación also means a season of the year, like spring, summer, fall. Okay. Estación, la estación, la estación. Okay. Estudiante.
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 Masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Masculine.
It is both. Wow.
Oh.
It's el
Yeah.
estudiante and la estudiante. And we don't change estudiante. We don't tag an a on the end like we did with doctora. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'll just know from hearing people use that. That is not a hard and fast rule. I'll give you an example. Jefe, boss, ends in e. It's el jefe if the boss is a guy, but they change it to la jefa if it's a woman boss. But that doesn't happen with estudiante. I can't tell you why. It's one of those little things you get to know because you hear it. Hear people say it, okay? And because we use the word for the way more in Spanish than we do in English, you'll hear people using the el and the la a lot more. So you'll know, oh, el estudiante, it's a guy. La estudiante, it's a gal. Okay? You'll know because you'll hear it. Okay, actor.
Masculine.
Actor.
El actor. And they have a
Masculine.
special separate word for this one. L'actriz. L'actriz.
Feminine.
Yeah, l'actriz is an actress. In English, that word actress is kind of falling by the wayside. Some lady actresses who are famous call themselves actor, not actresses. That may go away in English given time. The gender things that are happening with language. Okay, lápiz is a pencil, and it does not have
Masculine.
masculine. El lápiz. That one you just have to know. El lápiz. The Z at the end doesn't tell you diddle squat, sadly.
Right.
You need to know it's el lápiz. This ends in an L, papel. Again, a Z and an
Masculine.
L. Yeah, you just...
Masculine.
Yeah, it's not a clue. That last letter is not a cue. It is masculine though. El papel, el papel. Now we've got an ending letter that gives us some help. Metro is subway. And ending
Masculine.
masculine. El metro. Bien. Okay, fantástico. Coche.
Masculine.
Masculine, el coche. This is the word they like to use in Spain for car. I have, however, heard Mexicans use coche as well. And definitely Colombians. Autobús doesn't have a clue, but it's a vehicle thing. I like to think that vehicle things are almost always masculine.
Masculine.
Just the way it seems to wind up. El autobús. El
Okay.
coche, el autobús. Okay. Avión and camión are vehicles. They are not
Masculine.
camión. They are
Okay,
just
feminine.
camión. These are masculine. When you hear sion, like estación,
It's feminine.
it's feminine. But these two words, but they're kind of common because trucks, well, people will talk about trucks and planes. Well, if you're traveling, you're going to talk about planes. El avión, el camión, they are masculine, just so you know. So I'm plugging in some common words that people talk about with transportation and just the world around us. Aeropuerto, we've got a clear clue.
Masculine.
Masculine.
El aeropuerto, masculine. Okay. Pasaporte, I don't have a clue, but it's
Masculine.
it's masculino. El pasaporte, el
Porte.
pasaporte.
El
Vuelo, the word
pasaporte.
for flight.
Masculine.
Masculine.
Masculino, el
Masculine.
vuelo, el vuelo. Puerta means door. Puerta is often
Feminine.
used for a gate. Yeah, we've got an a at the end. Femenina, una palabra femenina, la puerta.
La
Okay,
puerta.
let's, we got a clear clue. Dad.
Feminine.
Feminine, la cantidad, quantity, la cantidad. We've got a clear clue. Dad.
That's a feminine.
Femenina, sí, la
Yes, feminine.
calidad. La calidad, quality.
Feminine.
Yeah.
Feminine.
ITY is kind of often an equivalent. It's a suffix we have, and it often correlates to that. Not 100%, but often. Oficina ends in an A.
Feminine.
Feminine.
Feminine, la oficina. Yeah. Here's a word that means cash. And as a traveler, you better know that word.
Masculine.
Masculine. Efectivo. I put an F in there and I shouldn't have. Momento. And my cursor is jumping around. Efectivo, el efectivo. Efectivo looks like effective, but if somebody's saying that through, they're probably talking about cash. The full term for that is dinero, money. Dinero en efectivo, money in cash. Dinero en efectivo. But most people, when they're just saying, will that be a card or cash? They'll say efectivo o tarjeta, efectivo o tarjeta, cash or card. That's all they want to know when they give you the bill. Efectivo is cash. Okay.
Efectivo.
Precio ends in an O. So it's
Masculine.
masculino, precio. Kind of looks like price, kind of it is a cognate. And información, ción is a clue.
Información.
Feminine. La información. They do not have a shortened word info that I'm aware of. I've never heard anybody use that. Like we say info. I have some info for you, but I don't believe I've ever heard anybody use that. Maybe some people do, but I've never heard it. Información. Okay. Vale. Bien. Good. Okay. If you don't know the gender of a word, listen for clues as people talk. If you get it wrong, it's not the total end of the world, but do know that nouns in Spanish are always going to have this odd little thing, and that thing is that the gender of a noun starts to govern all the words around that noun that talk about that noun. So the words for or some have to go into a masculine or feminine, singular or plural form. The descriptions like colors, red, like big, small, heavy, nice, bad, all go into the form of that noun that they're describing. That's just a thing they do in Spanish that we do not do in English. So kind of file that back in the in the gray matter, right? And kind of get used to that, and you'll see it kind of all plugged in, kind of coming together. All these little things are going to come together and do this, become interwoven, because they do. Vamos a ver. Let's take a look at numbers. Yay.
Yay.
Números. Vamos a practicar. We're going to practice these. And we're going to practice numbers. I gave you a video on numbers, did I not? No, or I didn't. I did? I did.
In the book.
I don't think so.
Haven't seen it.
Now, I'm
Yes,
gonna-
yes, there was.
there are a number of them. I'll go back and look at which one I gave you last
There
week, 'cause
was.
there are a
video.
number, and
Yeah.
it helps you to hear. I'll give you another one this week from a different person, because it always helps to hear lots of examples. The more times you hear it, the better you get. Okay. For most people who live in the Southwest, the numbers 1 through 10 are a gimme, because you wind up hearing them here. But I cannot assume, because some of you might have moved here recently. But, with little kids, definitely little kids hear this all the time. And they almost know the 1 through 10s immediately. But I can't assume. So we're going to go through these. And what I'm going to tell you in general, well, let's put our big screen up. And you're going to get this. By the way, don't spend time writing all this stuff down, because
It's in
you're
the
going to
book.
get this exact file.
Oh.
You're going to get this exact file. Can you see the big screen with the blue? See?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bien? Okay,
Yes.
vale, magnifico. Bien. And I'm sorry, I can't see you all on Zoom for some reason because of my
trying to
computer
focus.
issues. I can't see the big screen. I'll see if I can solve that later. Anyway, why do we need to know numbers? They are a survival skill. You got to know numbers because, because transportation, people will give you addresses. They'll, when you ask directions, when you need to know a flight number, the number of the, the area where your train will leave from, the number of the bus. Yeah. Phone numbers. Well, you won't need as much maybe, but you might. Expressing amounts of things you want to buy and prices. Wow. That's where that number 3 and number 4 and really number 1, we're going to use the phone number thing to practice together. Okay. But anyway, and I'll probably send you off into smaller groups to do that just a bit when we get to the phone number part. But anyway, that's why you need to know numbers. They are a survival skill. Okay. And what do you need to know? The most important thing for you to know with numbers is when you hear that number, the digit, not the spelling, the digit in your head. We spell out numbers in Spanish to teach them to you only so you can phonetically know, how do I pronounce this? Okay. But you're never going to write down numbers as C-U-A-R-T or C-U-A-T-R-O cuatro. You're never going to do that. You're going to write down the digit. Nobody does that, but we do that so that you can phonetically sound out the word. But don't obsess on, I got to learn to spell all these words. Okay. Do obsess with listening to lots of examples of numbers, because you want to understand the number somebody says to you. So the image of that digit pops in your head. And speaking, when you're saying a number to someone to express what you need, like an address, or like, I need bus number 20, I need bus, whatever. You need to be able to say that. So writing is just for you to sound it out. Okay, vale. We're going to go through all the ways you pronounce these words, and we're going to start with 0. Cero.
Cero.
Cero. Cero is 0. And notice it's not spelled with a Z, because in Spanish, Z and E, Z cannot be next to an E. It cannot be followed by an E. So when they spell that out, it's C-E-R-O, not Z-E-R-O, not Cetta, but se. Cero. Okay. Then we've got uno,
Uno.
which you may hear as una, and you may hear abbreviated as un. That's
Un
why that
perro.
indefinite article becomes un perro.
Yeah.
If somebody says one
Un
dog, they're never going to say uno perro. They're going to say un perro, because when that comes in front of a masculine singular, it drops that little o. It just does.
Oh boy.
So, but the number by itself is uno. Uno.
Uno.
Uno.
Then we've got dos.
Dos.
Dos. Then we've got tres.
Tres.
Then we've got, a word. Oh, and you know what? Yeah, we have duos or duets. Yeah, dos. We've got trios. Yeah, there's some Latin elements that start to come into English once in a while. We have quartets in English, but this is cuatro.
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 Cuatro bolsas, 4 bags. We've got the word 5, cinco.
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 Cinco manzanas, 5 apples. We've got the word seis.
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 6 ornamentos, 6 adornos. Adornos, they're different words for ornaments. Siete pájaros. Siete pájaros.
Siete.
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 Pájaros.
So you'll notice when we have vowels combined, those 2 vowels are going to slide together. Siete, siete, siete.
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 And here we've got an E and an I, but the order is reversed. It'll be seis.
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 Seis, but
Seis.
siete.
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 And those vowels are
Siete.
going to slide together.
Seis.
Okay.
Siete.
Now we've got some, we have octopus, and that octo comes from the same thing as this. Ocho,
Ocho.
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 ocho. Ocho lápices, 8 pencils. Okay.
Lápices.
Now, this one is very important to
Nueve.
pronounce correctly. At the end of this number, you want to smile at the end.
Nueve.
Nueve,
Nueve.
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 Why do I say it's important to smile at the end of nueve?
Nueve.
Because if you say nuevo with an O, it
Yeah,
means
that's new.
new. And that's a totally different word. It has nothing to do with a number of any
Nueve.
kind. Nueve.
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 And it's
Nueve.
important not to get lazy and make it nueva, because nueva also means new. Nuevo, nueva, they mean new, brand new,
Okay.
never been used.
Nueve.
But nueve, smile, nueve,
Eh, smile.
9, nueve, okay? And then we've got diez,
Yes.
diez, okay?
Yes.
So, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lots of people memorize them in order, but then when you hear them mixed up, it's like, oh my God, now it's trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you do want to do is to be able to distinguish those out of order.
Mhm.
Okay. So the 1 through 10 are important because you're going to hear them repeated and repeated and repeated and melded into bigger numbers.
Mhm.
So the 1 through 10 should be such a reflex that you know it like that, like that, like that, like that. Okay. What we're going to do is look at some of the, I'm going to send you out into breakout rooms. And if this fails, I may have to bring you back. And I only say if this fails because I had the computer problem. And now I've got some funny things happening on Zoom there that I don't know why that's happening. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this. I'm going to put you into breakout rooms with 2 or maximum 3 people. And I want you to take turns with your partner saying just a set of single numbers. Okay, and a phone number. So I'm going to take one that has a lot of repetition. I'm going to take one that's got a lot of repetition. Where's my other rep? Because I think I've got some on here. Oh, like, let's take this big one that's got the getter's letters. Everybody see that one? This has got a lot of repetition. So we're going to take that one because it's a throwaway, right? And we're not going to combine them and say 99, 99. We're going to say them all as separate numbers, okay? But I want you to practice saying the numbers out of order. Okay, so you're going to practice. If you were doing the sign studio with your partner, you're going to say them as separate numbers like this: cuatro, siete, ocho, nueve, 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 nueve. Smile. There you go. Okay, there's my throwaway. Because I want you to do something that maybe a little more challenging instead of nueve, 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 nueve. Okay. So if this should go out into the Zoom room once you hit your join button. But if for some reason it does a massive fail on me, I'll bring you back. Somos 14. You may have one group of three. I'm not sure. So you say one number, your partner should say the next. You get the idea. Flop back and forth. Yeah. Bien. Okay. You should all, and I think I had, did I have one that went down to, yeah. Okay. So one of you has a group of three. Sorry about that. I will send the page into the room with you. So just take some turns with that, but you have to hit the join button and then I can send the page into your room. Okay. Vale?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. So I'm opening the rooms. You should hit your join button. And after you get in the room, shortly after that, you'll see the screen. Wow. Wow. Well, there, the big fail happened. Gee.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, no, that's my computer. Thank you so much, Windows 11. That's because I can't get my updates to download.
Wow.
I would love to make them do that. Hit the button to download and nothing happens. Oh, fun. Okay, we're going to have to do this together. Perdón. I'm sorry, guys. Normally I have yeah. No es un día normal. This is not a normal day.
Okay.
Perdón. I'm so sorry. I was hoping to do this. I'll just have people take turns. Here we go. We're going to wait for everybody to come back in. My apologies. This has to do with, thank you, Windows 11, for that big epic fail yesterday. So we're going to have to do this one together. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted you to do it in small groups. Okay. I got to figure out how to get that feature back. Okay. We're going to actually, because I can share it with you here, but not in the small group. Yeah, go figure. Okay. Let's take a look. Vamos a ver. Perdón. Can you see the yellow pages or can you only see
Yes.
me?
Yes.
Yes.
Magnífico. Okay.
Both.
Vale. Bueno. A ver. How about Campus Commons Dogs Line? ¿Cuál es el número de teléfono? ¿Cuál es? Which one is? ¿Cuál es el número de teléfono? The phone number.
Okay.
Campus Commons. ¿Cómo se dice?
Okay.
Charles, how about?
Nueve,
9,
dos,
2, 5,
Yeah, Carlos, take the whole thing.
Cinco,
9,
No.
2,
Nueve,
Cinco.
dos, cinco.
6,
5,
9,
6,
Nueve.
9, 1.
1.
Okay, so I'm going to
Alright.
model the one below it, and then I'm going to actually call on one person, okay? I'm going to do the one below it. 5, 2, 7, because this is a gimme. 3, 7, 7, 7. I want you to do the ones that have different items here. Loretta, how about if you try to give me the Protect Security? This middle one right here.
I'm not too good at that. Oh, number 9, nueve, ocho, cuatro, 10, cinco,
Cuatro.
cuatro,
Seis, tres,
says 5, 5,
Cinco.
Sí,
7, 7.
siete.
Is that right?
Excelente. Muy bien. Pandemonium. Renee, want to give that a go?
Sure.
Me?
Sí, 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 claro. Pandemonium.
Pandemonium.
Renee.
¿Cuál es el número de teléfono?
No.
Oh.
6, 3, 2, 9, 5, 2, 5.
Perfecto. Muy bien.
Cinco.
Muy bien. Okay, let's try Garcia's and Sons. Karen, give it a go.
Okay. 9,
Hey.
14,
Cuatro.
8.
Ocho.
Oh, 4. I'm sorry. 4, 8,
10,
10, 9, 9,
6.
1.
Perfecto. Muy bien.
Uno.
Muy bien. Mark,
Oh.
give us a go with fine Italian cuisine, por favor.
3, 3, 9, 0, 7, 7, 5.
Perfecto.
Good.
Bien hecho. Well done. Vamos a ver, vamos a ver. Let's take a look here. Let's see, vamos a ver, vamos a ver. Do I have Philip with us? Do we have Philip today? Sí. Felipe? Sí o no?
Yeah.
I thought we had Felipe with us. How about Tom? Tomas? Tomas, do we have Tom?
Sí, sí.
Okay, Tomas, how about if you give it a go? Let's go with Mid-Cal Body Shop.
Claro. 9, 4, 3, 2, 7, 7, 8.
Excelente, muy bien,
bien.
muy bien, muy bien. A ver, vamos a ver. Huss Hogs, Huss Hogs. Vale, excelente. Linda.
Okay. Hoss hogs. Okay.
Sí, sí.
5, 4, 1.
No.
8. 3, 2, 7.
Ocho.
8. I'm sorry.
Ocho.
8.
No,
I'm
start
from New
over.
England.
Okay.
Just say I'm from New England. That's the difference.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Fantástico. Bien, 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 bien. Okay. Excelente. Entonces, anybody else who hasn't done one yet? If somebody wants to do the veterinary thing.
Jenny.
Maida?
Sure. 7, 0, 2, 8, 3, 1, 0, 4, 3, 3.
Excelente. Muy bien,
bien.
bien hecho. Okay, so now you have experience that doing those out of order can be a challenge, right? Can be a
Yes.
challenge. Okay. Es normal. That is very, very normal. Let's go back to taking a look at now. We're going to take a look at what happens with the 11 through 20 group. We're breaking this into parts. Okay. The 11 through 20 group. 1 through 15 are going to be single word items that sometimes sound kind of like the 1 through 10 combos. Okay. 11 is once.
Once.
It looks like the English word once, but it's pronounced once.
11.
Once. Well, does it look like uno? Not that much. Okay. But, dos is 2. But when we put an e sound on the end of dos, it becomes doce.
12.
12. Doce. When we have tres, 3, see, tres, we put an e on the end of it, it becomes trece.
13.
13.
13.
13. Bien. Let's look at 14. It kind of looks like cuatro, but we change a bunch of vowels around. Okay. So we've got, as my 15-year-old students call
14.
it, the long one. The long one is catorce.
14.
14, which have some elements of cuatro, but well, Yeah, it kind of
Catorce.
mashes it up, doesn't it?
Catorce.
14 bombones. Bombones. Okay. Now we have a
Quince.
word that does not look anything like cinco. This comes from a
Quince.
different element in Latin, which has a 5-ish feel to it, is all I'm going to tell you. So 15 is quince. Quince.
Quince.
Quince.
Quince.
Quince.
15.
15.
Naranjas.
Quince naranjas. 15 oranges.
Naranjas.
Okay.
Naranja.
Naranjas.
So I'm going to
Naranjas.
count backwards. Quince,
14,
14,
13,
13, 12,
12,
11.
11.
13.
Lots of words that end in se.
13.
They end in se. Now, 16 through 19 are going to be like math problems. You literally are going to say 10 and 6, 10 and 7, 10 and 8, 10 and 9. And here's the word for and. The word for and is this sound, E.
E.
E means and. E is often
Yes,
spelled
yeah.
with that
So-
ye, the Y letter.
This is
In
it.
some of these numbers, it shifts from the Y to a letter I, which we call E in Spanish, but it sounds like this, E. So
E.
whenever you hear E, somebody's saying and,
E.
literally, and. So we're going to combine 10 and
Yes,
6,
yes, yes.
and it becomes 16.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yes.
he says.
Yes, it
And
is.
look at what odd little thing happened here.
Yes, it's it.
We take diez, which ends in a Z, but we flip it because of the
Yes,
spelling
yes,
thingy to a
Yes,
C.
say.
And we make that E sound to say and.
Yes, it's
16.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, he
Yes,
says.
Yes, he says.
By the way, in
Yeah.
Spanish, the Real Academia Española, the old white-haired guys who make the rules, plus it is okay grammatically to say it as 16, one word, or to split it into 3 words, 16, but nobody is ever going to say it slowly like 16 for you, ever.
No.
They're going to slam it all together
Yes.
every single time they say it to you people, and they're going to say it 16.
It's
Yes,
yes,
yes.
say.
That's the way you're going to hear it. 16. That's
Yes,
splitting
yes.
into separate words. It ain't going to happen. Hardly anybody. Okay. Here we go. 17 is 10 and 7. 17.
Yes,
17.
17. 17 tenedores.
$10.
Tenedores. 17.
Tenedores.
Say tenedor.
17.
Bien.
17.
10 and 8. 18.
18.
18 platos. 18. Okay, that was not too hard to
Platos.
figure out. 10 and 8. 18. Platos. And now we have to smile at the end of 9. 19.
19.
19. 19. 19 días. 19 días. 19 days. Okay. 19. Okay. Now we switch to a totally different number for 20. For 20, think of the veins in your arm, because that's how you're going to pronounce it. Vein. Vein. 20. 20. 20. So what's going to happen with 21, 22, 23? 20. See? 20. What's going to happen with 21, 22? Oh, here's what's going to happen. 21, 22, they're going to squash it all together. Yeah. Let's try these separately. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27,
26,
27,
27,
27,
28,
28,
28,
28.
and we're gonna smile at the end of this one.
29,
29.
9,
E, which normally means and, the I subs in for that Y or Y, that letter. Okay. So that, and they're going to slam them all together and mush them and say them fast. That's what they're going to do. Okay. Now, oddly, when you get to 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and forevermore, they start to split those into separate words. So just know they are not slammed together for the 30 and up. However, when people say them to you, which is what you got to listen to when somebody gives you a price, it's going to sound like they're slamming them together because they are. Because they are. Because it's like what they call the liaison in French, where all the vowel sounds slide together. Look what happens here, guys. We got all these vowel things together. They're all going to slide together. So it'll sound like this. It will not sound like 34. They're not going to enunciate it like that. They're going to say it as 31. 31.
31,
You're going to slide them on.
31,
32.
33.
So these two sounds especially are going to slide. They're going to be said so fast together. They're going to sound like they're joining. 33.
33,
34.
34.
35.
35, 36,
37.
37,
37.
37,
38.
38.
39.
39.
Okay. Vale. So 30 is 30. It looks a little bit like tres, but notice 20's got this thing hanging on the end. 30's got this. Oh, they're not exactly the same, but they're kind of the same. Look at what happens with what we do in English: 4T, 50, 6T, 7T, 8T. You're going to have from here on up, enta.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's do these numbers together. Whoop, 40, 40. 40. We take the T out of cuatro. We take the T out and it becomes 40. 40. 40. Ooh, cinco just drops the O. 50. Okay. 6 drops that letter I. It becomes 60. 60. 60. This next number sounds exactly like 60, except it swaps the S in the middle for a T, because instead of 6 is based on 7. 70. 70. Okay. Next, we've got 80. 80. Okay. And next, we've got 9, but that UE in 9 swaps off to an O. 90. 90. Yeah, 90. Okay. And then we're just going to cover up to what 100 and what the full word for 100 is. The 100, and that means it's got to be exactly on the dot, 100, and not anything higher, is 100. 100. But if I say 101 or anything higher, it becomes a longer word than 100. We put a to on the end. It becomes ciento.
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 Okay. Our word century comes from the same root
Ciento.
way back in toga wearing people who spoke Latin. Our word century comes from the exact same thing. See? Okay. So what I'm going to send you this file. You can save it, print it, just save it. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. It's yours forever and ever. I will send it in the
Right.
email. I am also going to send you a different video so you hear numbers again, but in a different way. And I'm going to
Okay.
send you 2 sets of pages.
Mhm.
Let me make this bigger. This page, yeah, it's
Mhm.
going to do the 1 through 30s.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
this page,
Mhm.
it's going to do the 40s through 90s, really. It
Mhm.
doesn't do much with 100, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
send you those 2. I'm also going to send you a little, you know how you did the pronunciation page with pronunciation?
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm going to want you to pronounce the numbers you see in the middle. Don't do the whole chart at the top. Don't do the math problems at the bottom. Do the middle part where you just see a 2-digit number, 28, 15, 32,
Mhm.
11,
Mhm.
8,
Mhm.
26. I just want you to
Okay.
pronounce those numbers. Okay. And you're going to do it in that little Padlet. I'll give you a link. You'll just go in and pronounce these numbers, right? 28, 15, 32, 11, 8, 26, 13, 30, 20, 14, 16, 5, 29, 37. You're just going to pronounce those words. And with the second page again, yeah, you're going to skip the big chart at the top. The chart just shows you the patterns. So when you look at that page, you've got the patterns up above and you have that to follow in your head. So you're going to pronounce the middle section, not the math problems at the bottom, not the chart at the top, the middle layer,
Middle.
right?
Okay.
The 47, the 76, the 92. You're just going to pronounce the 2-digit number combos. That makes sense to you? See?
gosh.
Vale? So do that sometime during the week. Try it. Don't be timid. No sean tímidos. Don't be shy about it. But because I need it, what's going to be really important is that you get these sound combinations, very pure. Siete, siete, and seis. You get those vowels pure. So people know the number you're saying. Okay. Next week, when we come back, I'm just previewing. I want you to practice those numbers really, really hard. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to do a dictado, a dictation, and I'm going to take easy numbers, not 1,498. No. Yeah. 55, 24, 12. I'm going to take double-digit numbers. And I'm going to just say the number. And you're going to dutifully have a little throwaway scrap of paper, any old piece of paper that you don't care about. Yeah. And you're just going to write down the numbers as the numbers as I say them. You're going to write a 17 or a 7, an 18, a 25. You hear, well, you can't see it very well, but yeah, you're seeing it reverse, but you're going to write them as digits. You're not going to spell it all out because nobody does that. Okay. So because the crucial skill for you to hone is that the first skill, the most important, is for you to hear the number and know what number that
That
is.
is. Okay.
Because people will give you a price. They'll give you the gate you need to wait at the airport. They'll give you the anden, which is the platform you need to stand on to wait for your train. They'll give you the number of the bus you've got to get on. So you need to know a number immediately when somebody says it to you. Okay. So I don't want you to endlessly practice spelling all this hoo-ha. Don't do that. It's a waste of your time.
Okay.
It's a waste of your time. Okay.
Okay.
But we'll do a little dictado for you to practice that. Okay. Bien, makes sense?
Mhm.
I alguna pregunta? Any question about
I don't think so.
numbers, números, numbers at all? Sí or no?
No.
Okay.
No.
We're going to wade into something that is kind of painful here. Yeah, I'm going to say this because, well, because it is.
More painful.
We're going to wade into the world of knowing what a few verbs are, which are really kind of confusing to English speakers. Or even if you speak French, this will be weird because French doesn't do this exactly the same way that Spanish. You would think they do, but it's not exactly. It's kind of the same in some ways, but not exactly. I had a lovely lady years ago from Paris, and we got to this topic. She said, I hate this. It is not like French. I said, I know, I feel your pain. And you would think that should be the same because French and Spanish, they share the same Latin roots, but we're going to kind of look at the big picture, but then we're going to focus in on these two things that are hay and ser. And I'm going to give you a video to watch that's going to talk about all four of these verbs. And do understand, please, when you watch the video, you do not need to know the conjugations right now for every single one of these verbs, okay? They're just going to show you the situations in which we use them, okay? So these are four really important verbs, and they are I. The one easy one out of this group is I. I means possibly two things. I can mean there is. I can also mean there are. It's the same word. I. Okay. I can say, ooh, hay una botella. Ooh, hay una botella. Hey, there's a bottle here. I is simply used to say something is around. It exists. But we use the idea of is combined with there. There is or there are. That's the word hay. Okay. And it never changes in form. Hay una botella. I could say hay una taza. I could say hay unos libros. There are some books. More than one. It's still hay. Hay unos libros. There are some books. I just use it to say this stuff is around. But in English, we use there combined with is or there combined with are. However, to say somebody is a doctor, is a nurse, is a teacher, is a student, is tall, is short, is George. I identify who he is Mexican, is Italian, talk about where they're from. I use this other verb, ser. And ser also sometimes means is, but without the idea of there is. No there, just is.
Okay.
Am, is, and are. Those are the forms we have in English for to be. I never say I be happy, I be tall. We don't. I am, right? I am, but you are, not you be, right? So are, it's very irregular in English. It's very irregular in Spanish. Ser gets a lot of conjugations. That means it gets a different form. Ser is the base word, the core, and it means to be. In English, we have the word to thrown in there, to be. Okay. Ser also, however, sadly, there is another verb that also means to be.
Estar.
But it is called estar.
Estar.
And we use it in different situations from where we use ser. And you'll kind of get the idea. When you watch the video about this, I want you to go for the big idea, not for I must memorize every use yet. but go for the big idea so you know what's coming. So sometimes when we say I am, we're going to use estar. And sometimes when we say I am, we're going to use ser. And even sometimes when we say I am, sometimes limited, we'll use tener. Tener really doesn't mean I am. It means to have, to own something,
Tener.
to possess something. But there are special phrases in Spanish that use tener, and they really mean have. But in English, we would never use have. I'll give you two examples. In English, we say, I am hungry. In Spanish, they express that idea as I have hunger. And therefore, whereas it means, it expresses I am hungry, they will not use am, they will use have. I am thirsty, they will use I have thirst. I have luck, I am lucky. I am hot, they will use I have heat coursing through my body. Okay, so there will be special phrases. So listen to the whole long video. It is a long video, but it's going to be really, really great and easy. Okay, and I'm going to send you this whole set.
Yes.
I is the easy one. Okay, always means the same thing. This is going to be the link that has a little video. But for all those other verbs, for ser and tener and estar, you need to conjugate it, to put it in a special form to tell who is doing that action. And the person doing the action is the subject of the sentence. So for yo, I will use a special form of ser. For tú, we're going to use a special form of
Tú.
ser. That's called second person singular. For él, meaning he, or ella, meaning she, or usted, meaning the formal you. All three of those human beings, those entities, are considered third person, and they always use the same form of a verb. Forevermore, whatever the verb is, él and ella and usted always use the same kind of verb, even though they're not talking about the same human being. Okay? Salud.
Thank you.
De nada. Nosotros means I am in the group. Nosotros means we, and it will get a special form of the verb. Vosotros is the plural of tú. It means you guys in a friendly way, but they only use it in Spain. So we are not going to focus on that because Latin America ignores that completely and avoids it like the plague. But the plural of he is ellos.
Hello.
It means they, all guys, or they mixed group. Ellas means they, but all female group. And the plural for usted is ustedes. And ustedes means you guys. It is the only you guys, plural you, that is used in Latin America ever. They skip vosotros completely. And just like él, ella, usted will always use the same kind of verb, no matter what, different verbs are. Ellos and ellas and ustedes are always going to use the same kind of verb. Okay. So here's how you think of it. Yo talks about myself. Nosotros talks about myself, but I got people with me. That's what we means, right? Tú means I'm talking to you in a friendly way. We're on a first name basis. And then when I talk about one person, guy, gal, or formal you, we use one kind of verb with that. If I talk about they or you guys, it's going to use one verb with that to talk about plural. Okay. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look at what the forms of ser are. And we're going to look at some examples of how we use ser. Soy.
I am.
Soy.
Soy.
Yo soy.
Yo soy.
Yo soy.
When you see that word in parentheses, it means people usually skip that word. The only thing that soy matches up with, the only possible thing in the whole wide world is yo.
Okay.
And therefore, Spanish speakers say, why bother with yo? Because soy can only say I am. In English, we can't say am We have to say I am. In Spanish, they skip the I most of the time. So when you see parentheses, it means people will skip that subject pronoun. So we've got soy, I am, eres,
Eres.
you are, and he is or she is or you formal is going to be es.
Es.
Es. So these are all singular. They talk about one person. Soy, eres,
Soy,
es.
eres, es,
Okay,
soy.
but they talk about a different person, right? I am, you are, he is one person, she is one person, or you is, formal you, okay? But now if it becomes plural, we are is somos. Somos. They'll skip the nosotros. They don't bother with it. It's just somos.
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 Okay.
Sois is what they use for nosotros. Only in Spain, everybody in Latin America skips that and ignores it completely. So we're going to ignore it now. And more than one person talking about a plural group, and I'm not in the group. We're talking about a group of people, or we're saying, hey, you guys, it's son.
Son.
Son. Ellos son and ellas son. It uses the same verb, and ustedes son. Okay. Yeah. So those are the forms of ser, and those are the ones we're going to focus on now. You're going to get a little page to practice. Ooh, can I tell which form of ser from the chart I use down with these subjects? You'll get to practice that this week.
Okay.
It's going to say Carmen is Spanish. Julio and Hernando are Argentine guys. They're from Argentina. We are Italian. Are you guys Italian too? Nope, we're not Italian. We're German. Hi, I'm Pedro. Hey, you gals, and you can skip the vosotros if you want. Are you gals, Clara and Teresa? You can skip number 7. Are you Mr. Gonzalez? And we don't call him by his first name, so it's got to be a formal you. Mike's girls, his friends, his gals that are friends. Mike's friends are hairdressers. They cut hair for a living.
Okay.
Where are you from? Where are you from formal? Where are you guys from? Is Javier an engineer? I'm a Spanish student. George and I are Mexicans. So you're using am, is, are, was. You're using it with identity. You're going to use it with nationality. You're going to use it with a lot of situations. When do I use ser to say to be? I use it mainly, you should think of it as ser is a great big ID tag. It identifies. It talks about who that person is, and that means who they are. That means where they're from, what they do for a living, what they really physically look like, or what their personality is usually like. Ser tends to talk about characteristics that are somewhat permanent, that are, let us say, difficult to change.
Okay.
So ser is used for, you can memorize a whole bunch of rules, but know that ser talks about identifying what that person is like, what they behave like, not how they feel, what they behave like most of the time, their personality, what they physically look like, where they're from, because I can't change where I'm from. It's just, it's always there. Okay. So here are the reasons we use ser. Okay. Here are the
Carolyn,
forms.
What's an example on that list of about time, the last item on that
Oh,
list?
the last item? Yes. We use ser to tell time, like to say it is 12 o'clock. It is 9:30. They use ser for telling time. And that we just have to accept, that's what they do. Buena pregunta. That's a very good question. Okay. So there are many situations where we use that. The video will start to introduce it. Don't seek to memorize all of them, but let's look at a few examples.
Yeah.
Because how you're going to learn it is from examples. I'm going to talk about this gal.
I am a gymnast.
And I'm going to mix up
Amo.
different
I am
verbs.
a
So let's take a look at the
champion.
whole
Champion.
thing. Se llama Simone Biles. Her name is
Simone Biles.
Es gimnasta.
Gymnast.
She's a
Es
gymnast.
gimnasta.
Gymnast.
She's a gymnast. That's
gymnast.
what she does.
She is.
Es campeona olímpica. She's a
champion Olympic.
Olympic.
she's an Olympic champion.
Champion.
Oh, but now I talk about how she feels, and how she feels will not use ser. So I'm going to say, just get the feel for how this flows. Está emocionada. Excited, not emotional. Excited.
Excited.
Está emocionada de ganar medallas.
Win medals.
To
She's,
where?
she's excited to win. Ganar means
Win,
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 medals.
Win
Now I'm
medal.
going to talk about how she really looks. Es baja y musculosa.
Oh, her body is muscular.
Very muscular.
She's short.
How she
She's-
physically is.
Yeah.
She's
would-
short and build up.
Her
Muscular.
body is
yeah?
muscular.
Okay. But notice sometimes we use tener because she has a hair color. She has an eye color. It's an ownership thing because she isn't her eyes. She's not one great big eyeball. She has hair color. She has
Yes.
eye color. Yeah. Tiene el pelo,
Brown eyes.
hair. Tiene el pelo negro y los ojos
Oh,
marrones.
I have brown. I have.
She has
brown
black
eyes.
hair and brown eyes. Now I'm going to talk about where
Brown
she's
eyes.
from.
Okay. She's from the United
Es
States.
de. She's from.
Estados
Es de
Unidos.
Estados Unidos. But now I'm
Estados
going to talk
Unidos.
about where she's actually located. Not where she's from, not where she was born,
She lives in Texas.
but where she is right now. Está en Texas
Texas.
practicando.
She's practicing in Texas.
Location does
Texas.
not use ser. Location uses estar.
Stop.
Ooh.
Okay.
So keep that in the back of your gray matter for now. Now I'm going to talk about how old she is. But in Spanish, they don't say
She
how
has-
old she is.
Yes, 24
They
years.
talk about how many years you have.
Tiene 24
Tiene 24
años.
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 And-
Tiene cuidado. She is careful
DNA.
cuando ella practica, when she practices.
Seriously.
So this just gives you an idea of
Mm.
how Spanish is going to morph and use different ways to say she is, but they're dependent on the situation. Is it a permanent and hard to change thing we're talking about? Or is it where she's located now? Is it what she really is like or how she feels right now at this moment?
Está.
Yeah. Is it fleeting or is it a more permanent kind of thing? Those are going to be some of the things that determine ser and estar. Okay. Bien? We good for that?
Yeah.
I want you to focus on the numbers and ser, and we'll come back to all these other verbs later, but do watch the little video. And I think that's going to be enough for now. Ooh, I went over perdón.
Yeah.
Okay. Perdón. And we'll see
Okay.
lots of
Really?
examples of how we use ser to talk about people, to talk about where they're from and what they're like and what they do for a living, so that you see those patterns over and over rather than having to memorize a bunch of rules. Okay. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Bien.
Okay.
Gracias.
Magnífico. De nada, de nada.
Gracias.
¿Alguna pregunta? Any question before we leave or no?
No.
Nada? Nada?
Nada.
Nothing?
Nada.
Okay. Vale. I will send you a nice big email if my computer does not fail me really, really soon.
Okay.
With all the links to all this stuff. So you can just download it and keep it on your file. See? ¿Está bien?
Ok,
Está bien.
está bien.
Vale.
Bien.
Hasta
Hola.
luego.
Hola.
Cuídate.
Hasta
Sí,
luego.
nos
Hasta
vemos.
luego.
See you later. Nos vemos.
Nos vemos.
Hasta luego.
Nos vemos.